Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of Engendered, a show where we discuss everything about the female gender. I am Victoria Agbi.
Well, a very beautiful evening, distinguished viewers. I'm glad to have you join us again on another episode of the Engendered, where we talk everything about the girl child on KAFTAN television. I am Macy Emilite. We'll quickly go on a short break, and when we return, the Engender commences fully. Do stay with us.
Please, girls, let's be fast with our chores. It's almost time for Engendered. Girls, it's time for your favorite program, Engendered. Yeah, Mommy, we're coming right away. Sophia, turn off the gas. What are your fears as a woman? And what are your doubts as a lady? You think you're alone with those thoughts? Then welcome to Engendered, where we'll bring you discuss, interviews, previews, experiences, opinions on issues relating to the female gender. This is Engendered.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're right on time. It is Engendered o'clock. And just as Messi said before we went on that break, it's a show where we discuss everything about the female gender. However, today we're looking at things holistically as it's regards children, kids. That's a very little boy in your house, a little girl in your house, and everyone around, be it a father, a mother, a sister, an uncle. You're part of this discussion today. Well, I guess you're already thinking as to what this topic may be. Well, it is about teenagers. Well, let me take you through a background of today's topic. It says teenagers face multitudes of challenges as they navigate the complexities of adolescence. Some common challenges include peer pressure, identity formation, mental health issues like anxiety and depression, academic stress, relationships with family and friends, body image concerns, substance abuse, and social media influence. These challenges can significantly impact their emotional well-being and overall development. Understanding these difficulties can help provide better support and guidance to teenagers during this critical phase of their lives. Also, by emphasizing qualities like self-confidence, resilience, empathy, and a sense of purpose, teenagers can cultivate a strong foundation for success that goes beyond material wealth. Encouraging them to pursue their passions, develop skills, and contribute positively to society can lead to a more fulfilling and sustainable path towards success. And to this end, we sought for someone who would discuss teenagers with us, and of course, the challenges they go through, especially in this Gen Z generation and Alpha generation, as it is called. And we thought, well, who better can discuss this topic if not the Auntie Gracie, aka as she's called. Her name is Mrs. Omodashola Ladipo. She is CEO Gracie's Initiative. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Where did you get the Auntie Gracie from? Is that a nickname or?
Yes, it's actually Auntie Darcy.
Okay.
And that's from my name, which is
Darcy.
Omodasola Ladipo.
So sorry.
So the Omodasola is just the Darcy.
Oh.
And this name was gotten while I was in secondary school. When I was going to the boarding school, my mom wrote on my dresses and my boarding outfits, she just wrote Darcy. And so I just became Darcy all from there, and here I am, Auntie Darcy today.
So you mean I'm the auntie auntie, I guess perhaps maybe from the things you've been
Yes,
doing.
from dealing with teenagers and
Exactly.
young people.
I know they could be like that. They're just
So,
going, auntie.
yes, we just find it as auntie, that's it.
Indeed. Oh, all right. You saw or heard the topic I had read out. Challenges of teenagers, yes, in this Gen Z generation. I was listening to Cameron Caswell, and she says, and I quote, "We make parenting harder than it needs to be." Why do you think it seems as though these days it is difficult to parent children, kids, teenagers? Because okay, the other day I visited a house, and there was this very little girl in the house, and she just came out. She couldn't even say good morning. There was no greeting, and the father was like, "Would you greet?" I believe those days and those times you don't need someone to tell you to greet before you greet in a way. So it just seems as though generally when it comes to teenagers those days, it's something else dealing with them.
Basically, there's a lot happening to our children and our teenagers these days, and that's just one of what you just mentioned. But first of all, we must first understand who this Alpha generation and this generation and these Gen Z generations are. The Alpha generations are the generations from 2010 up till date, and the Gen Z generations are those from the 1995s to that 2009. So you can understand that these generations are being grown in the technological world in the 21st century. So this generation is different from the ones that have been raised previously, like the millennials. So we are the millennials, and our children are the children of the Gen Zs and the Alpha generation. So this is a technologically driven generation that is different from ours. So the way we're going to manage them is going to be different from how we have managed ourselves in the previous generations. So there's a lot of work for parents to be done, because now what they do most of the time is they're sitting in front of the screens and there are no family connectivities like before. So families have gone very busy. You know, the father is out there, the mother is out there, and people have gone their different ways. And there's really nobody teaching the children these values. So there's a loss in our value system. So it goes down back to the parents.
Okay, let me quickly come in. So with the dimension this Gen Z generation are going and the way they're going about life recently, are you trying to say that technology has done us more harm than good? Because I have lots and lots of emphasis to make, and of course questions why the program progresses. But are you saying that the technology has done us more harm than good?
Definitely no. But the thing is, there are two sides to life. And that's the way life is. There's a positive angle to everything in life, and there's a negative angle. So it comes to us to be able to manage the positives and the negatives and come to a middle ground and make sure that the negatives do not overshadow the positives.
Okay.
So that's just what technology has done to us. We can't do without technology.
Exactly.
It's a digital world, and it's better for us. Technology has brought us this far. Today, people are joining us online for this event.
Exactly.
That's as a result of technology. So we wouldn't say that technology has done us more harm than good. It has done us good, but the thing is, we have to be able to balance it.
Indeed.
Balance it.
Talking about balance, well, before we move on, there's a reminder that you can call us to be part of today's show. Perhaps give us your take as to how we can navigate the challenges faced by teenagers out there. I'm sure this applies to every one of you out there. Now, according to Common Sense Media, by the age of 15, 86% of kids have smartphones, and 95% of teens by the age of 13 and 17 are using social media. Now, you can find out that teenagers would spend hours on their smartphones, and they wouldn't even blink an eye. They wouldn't even turn to anything. That is how the statistics can be proven to be right in a way. If you now see that in a way it is causing harm, why do you think parents continue? Or is it the fact that they do not have a choice? For instance, I am a working class, and I'm married too. Do I say in order for me to meet my prerogative as a career woman and strike a balance, then it is okay to just look for a way to balance of giving my kids the tools, the gadgets to go ahead with life and the rest while I do my own thing?
No, I think that's where we're missing it. We have replaced parenting we have replaced the efforts that parents are supposed to put into parenting these days. We are giving it up for the digital world. The digital world cannot parent for us. There's a place of parenting, and there's a place of hard work in parenting. There's a place of instilling values in our children. And so we cannot sublet this. We cannot lease this out to the digital world.
I'll let you hold your thoughts there while we pick this call. Hello. Thanks for joining us on the show. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Chris.
Okay, great. Tell us your name. Okay, your name, of course. Where are you calling us from? Can you turn down the volume of your TV set? If you can hear me, turn down the volume of your TV set and speak up so we can hear you.
Okay.
I guess we have to go. So you're talking about values. In terms of values, then how then can we create a balance? Because you spoke about balance earlier. Because it seems as though it's difficult trying to juggle between career and, of course, meet up expectations at home. How can we create a balance?
The thing is, we still have to balance. Being busy, let me tell you what one of my coaches defined busy as. She said, we are busy under Satan's yoke. And that's how she defined busy. Because no matter how busy you are, we must give time to our children. Because if we don't parent them well, then there will be a problem, a very big problem in the future. We can't replace it. There are times you have to sacrifice. I am an example. I work, I do my thing, and I still take care of the family. So we must be able to do what we must be able to juggle this.
Sorry to cut you in there. You work and you're able to tell us how you do all that.
Well, just like one of my coaches also said, this is about being a supernatural woman and not just a superwoman.
Okay, I want to be a supernatural woman. Could you please talk us through how you are able to, because we are trying to find how to strike a balance here, managing work and a family, and you say you do that. Just talk us through how you do.
One of the things you have to do is you have to set a routine for the children. They have to be able to understand their routines. I read the book and TDJ said that as little as laying the bed, the children have to get responsible early enough. So I say to them every day, you have to always lay your bed, because that's where your responsibility starts from.
Okay.
So I got a chart that says that these are the activities that children have to do for each ages. And so I started to blend them in. With the help of, you will definitely find other assistants that can help your work easier. But at the time, you have to let them go so that you can balance, so that your children can balance. We have to be able to find time, no matter how busy our schedules are. We have to be able to teach them, because if you don't teach them, they will never know. The children of the alpha generations, all that they love to do is just sit in front of the screen and enjoy their time. The screen could be in different dimensions. It could be the television, it could be the tablets, it could be the phones, it could be whatever gadgets they could have access to. That's what the screen is. So you have to have regulated access. Children have to have regulated access. That if you don't do this, there are consequences for every action. If you don't wash the dishes, you're not going to be able to have screen time. If you don't sweep the floor, you're not going to be able to do this. They should understand actions and consequences. Otherwise, the world will be in a up and down. It would just be upside down.
Yeah, I know. Like for myself, I have kids, and sometimes I know I have kids, and I also have a help, and a lot of times I'm the one who instructs my help. When you are doing this, always carry her along. Whenever you are washing the plates, I allow her do the rinsing, and sometimes just allow her sweep the room, unless even though she might not get it thoroughly swept, but just allow her do it. And sometimes when I'm around and she disobeys those rules my help gives, I will either tell her to kneel down or do that. But now let's come to this particular generation. I always like to use the TikTok as an emphasis, because I see a lot of things I also enjoy going through the TikTok, and I see a lot of things happen there, especially these Gen Zs that we are talking about. I see a lot of things. You now you get to see these young girls who are not, some of them are not even up to 18 years old. A lot of things they do online is unbelievable. And okay, away from the house chores, how do we teach them morals and values?
Well,
With this technology, with the technology world that we are into, how do we mold them to, we are Africans, and no matter how much more we want to despise that or digital world, we can't take away the fact that we are Africans, and as such we have morals and values. But when you look at these Gen Zs, they don't even a lot of things they do you just got to sit back and wonder, wow.
I think a lot of it has to do with social media influences.
Okay.
You know, and another thing you talked about, you talked about the age.
Exactly.
I think we need to know that parents are kind of missing it with the age that we're introducing technology to our children.
So at what age exactly
Some
should
of
we
it-
introduce? But before then, we could just, I guess,
Let's
want to
pick
take
this
the call.
call. The caller. Hello. Thanks for joining us on the show. What's your name and where you calling us from? If you can-
My name is Joy.
Joy. All right. Thank you, Joy, for calling in. What's your take as to what we're discussing? In terms of challenges faced by teenagers, what are the challenges you think teenagers out there are going through?
I'm coming. Mark, I'm coming.
All right.
Sorry, call back.
All right. You were saying.
Okay, what was the line of thought?
Okay, yeah, I was saying, so at what age do you think we should introduce, you know, the handset, phone, whatever, all these things,
Mobile
using
gadgets.
mobile gadgets? At what age do you think it is necessary to introduce these kids to?
There's no fixed age. But the thing is, we have to understand what, why, and then when. So our kids really have to, we need to understand and know at what age, what is the use of this social media, or what is the use of these gadgets to this child.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we need to answer. That if I give my son a phone at the age of 10, what is the purpose? So if you cannot define the purpose of use, why give out a
Okay,
a gadget?
let me say I give it out because I want to always, you know, check up on them whenever I'm at work or away from the house, to know how they're faring, to know how, you know, to know how they are at home. Do you think it's a problem?
No, it's not a problem. You need to be able to reach your children. That's
Exactly.
communication. But the thing is, what kind of gadgets are you giving out? Is it an Android phone? What do you have? You can still give an Android phone, but does it have access to data? What is the data meant for? Have you done your due diligence as a parent for parental controls? Have you technologically preserved your home before you are releasing a gadget to a child?
Okay,
Because of what they have access to, because there's a lot of explicit information now online that children have access to. So one of the things we must do before we release that gadget to that child of ours at whatever age is to have a parental control. So that's the first thing
But
that you have to do.
can it be totally controlled?
exactly, because
in
I
a
was going
way-
to talk about, you know, their peer groups, their
Yes.
age mates and schoolmates and
Because
the rest of that.
whether you like it or not, for instance, you leave your child at home, perhaps with a gadget. There's this fancy tab these days. You just put it in a case, and you can just watch YouTube videos
Exactly.
like rhymes and the rest. We have broadcast messages that pops up.
Do you know
And
that there are
can-
YouTube? You can actually have only YouTube Kids for your children. You don't have to put them on the main YouTube. You can actually put them on YouTube Kids, so that's another way you have controlled what they have access to. But when you're registering that gadget of yours, you can as well put an age limit. Put the real age of that child. Don't let the child be represented as an adult. If the child is actually 10 years old, then let it be 10 years old. A lot of times we do those registrations in our names, and so, or we put a wrong age, and so they could explicit information that is not meant for that child's age will keep popping up, because on the child's registration you have put that the child is 15, whereas the child is just 10. So those are some of the things and some of the mistakes that we're making. And then, do you know what I did for one of my sons? Is that I made sure that my Google was connected to Ease. So whatever messages he gets I hope he's not listening to me right now.
Well, I hope so too.
So whatever messages he gets on his group chat from his friends, I get it on my phone.
Okay.
And so I was privileged.
How about
by chance.
calls? How about calls?
No, I don't have access. No, because it doesn't have
You see.
a SIM. The phone that he has access to is not an Android phone.
Okay.
So it's just a regular phone for me to say hello, how are you, and just to be able to reach them. So at that age, it's actually 12. But at that age, I did not feel the need for an Android phone. So that's just one of my own ways of a parental, just to be able to put a check
Exactly.
on them. And one of the things that we need to do as well as parents is we need to keep an open communication. You know, we need to educate our children well about being responsible rather than being irresponsible. So we need to find time, and that's where parenting comes in. We need to find time to parent properly so that our kids can understand. We need to have family core values. If we have core values in our families, they would help us a great deal. Because from there we are able to tell our children that in our home, this is what we stand for. This is what we live by. And then these children can live with this. Those were the things that our parents of old were doing. But it has been erased. We don't see parents doing that anymore. So we must go back to that era where parents would sit with their children and be able to do what? Talk to them. Tell them that this is our core values. This is our family system. This is what we do in this family. In our family, we don't do this. We don't do that. We don't do this. We don't do that. Honesty is a virtue. You know, we need to come to that point where we're able to relate with our children, keep an open communication with our children, to be able to talk to them that this is what we stand for in this home.
Okay.
So when they begin to receive different kinds of things outside, at least their brain has been brainwashed in your own family values.
Well, it seems as though it's easier said than done, because we have a lot of this menace in the society currently, where kids these days, you cannot easily relate with them, perhaps because they lack that intimacy with their parents at home. It seems as though the social media has taken the place of the parents in the very first place. And that's why, for instance, when a Gen Z goes to an outlet like this to perhaps seek for a job, and he gets that job, at a very little instance, they could quit that job. For instance, I was listening to an example about a teenager. Okay, a Gen Z, let's use a Gen Z, goes to get a job in an establishment, and then he wants an increment. And he's saying, I want a 50% increment. And the boss is saying, okay, let's do it like this, so that you can get a 50% increment. And he said, either a 50%, I don't care how you get it. It's either a 50% increment or nothing, I quit. And they easily can resign and just go away. So in terms of coping mechanism, it seems as though they do not want to tolerate. They just flip at every instances, and that's why, although they become they are successful in a way, but the method of success, and when you're working with a millennial, for instance, you can really get pissed. Like, who are you? Like, I don't know if you've had to experience working with a Gen Z or an alpha in a way. You just find out that it's a whole different
kind of impatient.
Exactly. It seems as though. So how do we now teach them in a way? Or perhaps we should just learn as millennials ourselves.
No, we can't give up on them. You know why? Because they are the future. And so if we give up on them, that means that we have given up on our future. And that's why this comes back to what? It comes back to parenting. You know, I was trying to say that there are these days we see the elements that go around. Number one of it is social contagion. As in, they see someone do it, and then because someone has excelled in that field, or someone has been able to get away with that, it's just contagious. And that's what we see in this alpha generation now. We see that they're not able to persevere.
Yes.
Why? That's because a lot of perseverance, there's no perseverance from the home. So they kind of ask us for something, and we just feel that they are my children and I need to pamper them. We just give it away. We just give it to them. You know, that's not how it works in those days. You have to be able to justify the reason why you need a thing. But now we say that we don't want our children to go through what we went through. And so at every little instance, we're able to say, oh, I need this. And we're not asking for them to even justify the reason why they need it. and so they are not able to persevere in the real world. One of the things that we need to teach our children is resilience.
Okay.
And that's why there's a lot of peer pressure.
Okay, let me add to that. I was listening to sometime this year or a few months ago. I was listening to a former BB Niger. I can't really remember her name because I'm not a fan of BB Niger. So she was saying that if she have the money, that she would give the best of life to her kids. When she was asked if she would leave the mainland to marry a man who stays in the if she would leave the island to marry a man who stays in the mainland. So she was trying to say that she can't do anything like that. The reason is because her life revolves around the mainland. Her business, her work, everything she does revolves around the mainland, island rather. So that she won't have to move to the mainland just to because she's married to a man. So they are going to find a way to manage it. And now going to the comment section, a lot of people saying you can't live, you're not ready for marriage. And talking about raising her kids, she said she would give her kids the best of life. If she have the money, she would want her children to fly even business class. Why? Because she doesn't want a situation whereby a man out there just offers you something very little. Now I'm referring to the girl child. A man offers you something very little, and because you're unable to get it at home, you're easily lured into what is not supposed to, or what you're not supposed to go into. What do you make out of that?
I think it still goes back to the value system.
No, because you said we should perseverance. You mentioned perseverance,
Yes.
and why they shouldn't be given things when they ask for it right away.
They have to be able to justify.
They have to be able
the
to
reason
justify.
why they need that thing at that time.
Okay.
And so we as parents must be able to look and read in between the lines. If it's not something that is really necessary, imagine that your 10-year-old son is asking that, please, can I have an Android phone and have a social media and have access to the internet?
Okay.
So you have to be able to justify that. Does this child really need it at this time, and what will be the use? So in the midst of making life beautiful in quotes, or making life enjoyable for our children, we must still be very careful, because there's just a thin line between these things. So if we're not able to draw that thin line, we'll just be at the other side. So we must, in the midst of, it's not by giving your child a gadget that means that you have done so well for your child.
Okay.
Is that your yardstick for saying that, oh, I have done so well, I have given my child all the goodness and all the good things in this world. So we must be able to draw a line between this. Otherwise, we'll just be at the other side.
This set of people want to do everything that their friends or their peer group are able to do. For example, I am in school and you are my friend or my classmates, and what my parents could afford at the moment for me, it's a Techno, and what your parents have been able to give you is iPhone 15 Pro Max. And yes, let's just be realistic here. You know how these things are. Sometimes sometimes you just want to sometimes they are carried away by this, and they just feel like, oh my god, and out there, these are the reason why they are easily lured by men, I mean the opposite gender. Okay, come, I will buy you iPhone 15. And it's not like my colleague initially said, it's easier said than done. It is not very, very easy. It's not as easy as we think for them to, be contented. Let me use the word. It's not, even though we as the parents try our best in that aspect, but sometimes these Gen Zs, because they are the Gen Zs, are carried away. Oh, after all, she's already using iPhone 15 Pro Max. Of course, I want to use iPhone 15 Pro Max too. How do you relate to that? So should I buy her the iPhone 15 Pro Max for her not to be lured by a man just because he wants to offer?
Just before you answer that question, let's take this call. Hello. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from?
It is me, John.
Okay, please. Let's hear what you have to say.
It's all about family member, right?
Yeah, we're talking about teenagers. What do you have to say about the challenges teenagers go through on a daily basis?
I don't like all the people and complaining.
You don't like what?
It's the people that are complaining. Those are one of my challenges in life.
You don't like difficulty and complaining. Did I get it correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We've noted that. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
All right. We had our caller. She said she doesn't like difficulty and complaining. That's what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
You know, I want the baby girl life, and you will see a lot of this, a lot of these Gen Zs. You don't have a good paying jobs. And most some of them don't even have a job. Not to talk more of a good paying one. You are still a student, and you see them wear luxury hairs, expensive hairs, iPhone 15. iPhone 13 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, and some of the parents don't even ask. Of course, I'm going to get to that.
Exactly.
But how, like, I'm trying to understand.
Just to add to what Messi is saying. Okay, the other day I was listening to this preacher, and she was saying it took me 3 years to be able to achieve a certain level, but perhaps get a human hair for 3 years. Like,
she said for 3 years.
Yes, she said she said for 3 years able to get a human hair. But you think in a thinking of an eye, you want to get perhaps 100,000 to get a bone straight. How does that work? And that's the concept in which this Gen Z tend to operate. They just feel like at a snap I can get whatever, and I'll get it immediately and in a way.
There's really nothing much we can do, because that's where the value systems have been lost. And so because the value systems have been lost from there, we can only help this upcoming generation to restore their values. You know, if we're placing so much priority on, that's where it comes to family. We have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the drawing board. And the drawing board is to go back to our family. No, it is. It is. We need to go back to the family. No, we need to go back. And that's where we have lost it. We keep saying it's not easy, and so we let these things fly by. You know, we're raising children these days for the future. So if we're raising them for the future, we need to first of all go back to the drawing board. And the drawing board is to go back to the family. That is where we have lost it. That is where we have missed it. I can tell you honestly that is where we have lost it. Because you have not worked, and then you want to do something that someone that has worked for 5 years,
exactly, of our life,
years, have done. So that's because, and that's where peer pressure also comes in, because we see social contagion. We see that someone else is doing it, and you want to do it. But you know that if you have properly taught your child, at least 50%, you can be sure that that child will still stand for what you have taught them.
Indeed. Let's take this caller before we continue. Hello, your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Seth.
Okay. Where are you calling us from?
Lagos.
Okay, thank you for joining us on the show. Tell us, what is that challenge you think you're going through as a teenager? I believe you're a teenager.
I'm just reaching 13 today.
Okay.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations. So tell us that challenge in which you're going through as a teenager.
I'm a girl.
Yes, I know you're a girl. And you
I
are...
heard that my name sounds like a boy.
No, we know you're a girl. So tell us the challenge you go through.
I started menstruating.
Okay.
Okay.
So is there any challenge you go through?
And it happened today.
Wow. Congratulations. Have you told your parents about this? Hello, if you can hear us. All right, I guess we lost that caller. It tends to, well, it's a good thing for a girl to menstruate, right? But I believe they need to perhaps know the next thing to do.
Exactly,
education,
and that's where open communication comes in.
Very
is that we have to be able to talk to parents. Must create a safe environment wherein children are able to relate. They can open up. So they are opening up first to you before they are opening up to someone else outside.
Indeed.
So if you don't create a safe space, children and teenagers especially are going to bottle up. They're going to hide everything from you. So even to the nitty-gritties of their life, they'll prefer to talk to a friend first. And there's something that someone said. She said, the law of first mention. So you have to be the first person that will mention to your child. So let it be that they are getting that word first from you. They are learning first from you as a parent. I'm just talking about the little girl that called in and said she just started menstruation. So if a parent is out there listening, there's a law of first mention, which is that everything that has to do with the girl child or the boy child has to come from you first, because you will be the best person. You are in the best position to teach that child, first of all, everything and anything that topic entails, rather than getting it first from outside.
Indeed.
Because their friends can actually brainwash them. They can give them negative information about a particular topic.
Okay, let me add, how do you think the economy has has added to this? I'm trying to find a way to fit in, because sometime last week I said, okay, let me just take my girl's phone, let me see what has been going on. So I brought it to the office, and some number called, so I pretend to be her, you understand. So I remember one of the guys that called, that said, that was like trying to talk her. He said, are you going to come out? Don't worry about your parents. Your parents have lived their own life. Now is our time. Your mother and her and your father have lived their life, so this is our time. They shouldn't, they shouldn't cage you not to enjoy it, because they've enjoyed past, their time has passed, and this is our time. So I want us to live our time to the fullest of it. Do you think in any way that the economy has contributed to the devaluation of these young ones' moral and value?
Definitely, finance is key in everything. So you can't rule out that the economy has been a bit difficult, and so it would definitely have effects on moral values.
Okay.
So we can't rule out that. But the thing is, we still have to. Well, we're not still going to lose our heads because the economy is down. And that's what we're still going to teach our children. We're not going to lose our heads because the economy is down. We have had times when the economy has been down, when the economies have been down in different climes of the world, in the global world, in even in Nigeria. And so this is not the first of its kind. So in the midst of the economic crisis or hardships, we're not still going to lose our head. So that's what we should teach our children, that in the midst of it, we're not going to lose our heads.
Indeed. I want us to talk about mental health, but before we proceed, let's take this caller. Hello. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the show. Where are you calling us from, and of course your name? If you can hear me, turn down the volume of your TV set. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Okay, so I was going to ask what role you think mental health awareness, for instance, can play in the lives of teenagers, because most times you find out that in a way, we talked about coping mechanism, they don't seem to endure so much. They at the very first instance, they want to yell at their voice.
Soft life.
No, aside from soft life, they want to.
That's how they describe it these days. Soft life.
Aside from the soft life, they want to tell you, put it up straight to you in terms of anger. I did vex so. A teenage girl will tell you, I did vex so. I've had to experience some of them. They want to, if they can hit you, they will hit you, and you're wondering, where are you from? Who trained you? So in terms of mental health, and sometimes you feel like they are pushed back in a way. They do not want to talk to people. They don't, especially the right people. They would rather talk to the wrong people, because they know they will get the wrong advice they need, rather than talk to the right people.
Because the truth is bitter, of course.
Yeah, because the truth is bitter. So in terms of mental health awareness, what do you think parents can do, even teachers? Because most times we want to push it back to the family, but then you find out that they spend most of the time in school and not even at home.
Okay, let me pick it up from there. The thing is, parents, we need to know that you cannot delegate parenting. Parenting cannot be delegated. So if you say that they spend more time in school, but they still spend time with you at home. A child goes to school from the hours of 8 a.m. to probably 4 p.m. And so the rest of the day, that's how many hours? That's about 8 hours.
But you as a parent, you work, so you probably get home 5, 6 and thereabout. I think
yes,
that's
but you have, even if you work, but you have systems in place that could assist your parenting and make your parenting journey easy. I tell you that if we put our children in the right routines, I have read books, and people have said in their books that at the age of 12, their children they already set their children in motion for what life is. So if a child knows that when I return home by 5 p.m., the first thing that I do is I empty my bag, I wash my dishes, I have homework to do. We eat lunch, we eat. That's about, let's say, an hour gone. Maybe in the next 1 hour, you'll be home. You have homework
To do.
you have home funds to do. You pay attention to that, please. So for me, I feel that the first thing we need to do is we need to set up routines for our children. And just like I said, you can't delegate parenting. So that child has only spent 8 hours in school. So how do you delegate to the teacher? How do you delegate to someone else outside? You spend most of your time. Your son or daughter spends the whole weekends with you. But the thing is, when they're at home with you, what are you doing? Are they sitting in front of the screen? What are they doing? What are they using their energy to do? And then are you doing proper monitoring? So you can't delegate parenting. That's just where I'm going. Please, let's come out of the fact that we feel that we can delegate parenting to the school. No, the school can't do it for us. We have to take up our roles as parents, because that is the most important thing for us. And that's why God has created us and made us parents in the first place. So our children are like arrows in our hands. And so we're preparing them for the future. So if we're preparing them for the future, are you going to be delegating them to someone else who doesn't even know anything about them? Someone that just came into their life and will just spend a few hours with them. Those teachers also have their own challenges. So if we delegate our own duties to them and say that they are responsible for this of our lives, so who takes responsibility for theirs? So we must come out of that thinking to say that we're delegating. No, we can't delegate parenting. So that's my point.
All right, we'll quickly go on a short break, and when we return, you bring us up to speed on how environment influence these young ones. But until we return, let's quickly go on a short break. We'll be right back.
Please, girls, let's be fast with our chores. It's almost time for Engendered. Girls, it's time for your favorite program, Engendered. Yeah, Mommy, we're coming right away. Sophia, turn off the gas. What are your fears as a woman? And what are your doubts as a lady? You think you're alone with those thoughts? Then welcome to Engendered, where we'll bring you discuss, interviews, previews, experiences, opinions, and issues relating to the female gender. This is Engendered.
Thank you for staying tuned and welcome back to the show Engendered on KAFTAN television. Now I was saying something before we quickly go on that short break. I was asking or try to understand, how do you think our environment precisely influence these young ones?
The environment, that's a big issue, and that's where we begin to talk about peer pressure, peer validation, and all of that. But the thing is, there's a lot of peer pressure these days, and it's really a big issue. Just yesterday I was just talking to someone, and the person was just telling me about a 19-year-old child who ended up having an issue that had to do with mental issues, because probably we don't actually know what it is. But I'm just trying to say that it's just an environmental issue that the guy keeps, that we see that the environment eventually negatively influenced that child. And so one of the things I think we must do, I was just talking to my son recently too, and I said to him, I said, you need to guard your gates. You know what your gates are? They are your ears, your eyes, and your mind. You need to guide them seriously, because you're going to go out there. You're not going to be under
My roof.
all the days of your life.
Exactly.
And so, but when you go out there, if these values live with you, then you can weather the storm of the peer pressure. But if these values don't live with you, that's why I'm concerned about values. Because if they live with you, you can weather the storm of the peer pressure. But if not, you're going to fall. I don't know if you want me to go biblical, but there's a place in the scriptures that says that if you faint in the day of adversity, then your strength is small. But there's another version that says that it shows that there was really nothing to you in the first place. It means that you didn't have so much strength. That's why you're feeling. That's why you're falling for the peer pressure. It means that there wasn't even much to you in the first place.
Exactly.
So that's why we need to it still goes back that we need to build up our children. Because if we're able to build them up properly, they can weather the storm of the peer pressure. They can come back home and have open conversations with you and say, on the field, this is what I experienced. And then you can say to them, don't do this and don't do that. You know, recently I was having a chat with one of my boys, and I said that I know that people transmit porn pictures through the flash drives. And so I said, please don't be a party to it. You know, I try to do a lot of open communication, and so we do a lot of negotiation. So that's what we need to do now as parents. We don't have to, the way we were raised. That's not how we're going to raise this. Yes, we're not going to raise these 21st century children like that, because they're not going to tell you anything.
Exactly.
So you have to be able to do an open communication to say, oh, come, let's talk about it.
Okay.
This is what I heard. So is it true? So how do we do this? Okay, so let's come to it. Okay, so this is how to handle such issues.
Okay.
And you know what he said to me? He said, but I won't do that. I said, I'm just saying it again for emphasis.
Okay.
Just to be able to do what? To drive home the point in case it flies around you.
Okay.
So that's where peer pressure comes in. So this is just something that we still need to go back and instill this in our children. So like I said, if you feel in the day of adversity, there wasn't much to you in the first place. That's what
Okay, I'd like to ask, since you made mention of this Bible verse, do you think in a way we have our own responsibility, aside from our parents being there cushioning us as to what to do or not? Do you think as an individual, as a teenage girl out there, teenage boy out there, you have a responsibility as to how you turn out in a way, whether there was someone there to guard you in the very first place? Because I used to have this discussion in the first, it comes up maybe when I'm having a discussion with someone, like, in a way, I wouldn't say I turned out this way, because totally, I know my parents did their own parts, but I knew I did my own parts myself.
Exactly.
So there were like so many influences on the way, but I decided on my own. They were not there when I was in school. Okay, I could have done whatever I want to do, but I decided on my own that this is what I want and this is how I should follow it. So I want to know, do you think an individual has a role to play as to how they become in life? Because many people blame it on their parents. I turned out this way because of my parents.
And trust me, some of their parents do a whole lot of work. It's just that
exactly
the child just shows the other part. But trust me, a lot of parents try their best in leading them the right path. But a lot of them,
parents that tried their best to ensure that their child turns out a certain way they want.
So that's why we need to tell them that you are responsible for yourself, whether now or in the future. So how you turn out, whether you have a parent or a guardian or you have someone guiding you, it's still your life. So at the end of the day, it would still be your life. It will not be the life of that parent. It will not be the life of that guardian. It will not be the life of that adult that was watching over you. So being responsible lies with you, with that individual. So it lies with you. In case there's any teenager or anyone listening to me, the alpha generation, being responsible, the onus is on you. It's not going to be on any parent. Parents are just trying their
The
best
best.
as caregivers that God has assigned and God has given those seeds to. But the onus is still with you, and you are responsible for your actions at the end of the day. So if you engage yourself in whatever it is that is influencing you in the environment, it would still be that it's your life to live. And at the end of the day, how would you feel turning out that your life around? So I think we need to know that our generation, our Gen Zs and our Alpha generation need to know that it's your responsibility.
Okay, indeed. Before we go, I would like you to touch on for ladies, because this is an engendered show. It's a show we'll talk about things that happens around women. For the teenager out there who perhaps just started menstruation, what does she need to do? For those who might not have parents to guide them, whether a father or a mother, what does such child has to do?
That's very dicey, but that's just the world that we find ourselves. And sometimes it's not actually their fault. And most of the time, it's not the fault of that teenager. It's not the fault of that young person. They were just circumstances beyond the control of that kind of a child. But the thing is, for that kind of a child, you need to seek help. You need to look for a trusted counselor. You need to look for someone you can confide in. Just recently, I just saw a young girl and she was crying and I was like, what's wrong with you? And she just said, I just feel sad. I said, what's it that is making you sad? Something must be making you sad. So those are circumstances beyond the controls of our children these days. And so sometimes these kind of circumstances can push them into depression, can put them into mental health issues, you know. But just what you said that has to do with the girl starting her period and all of that, you need to look for someone you can trust. You need to seek for help. You are not expected to know it all. So, and if you seek for help early, that's why there's a lot of coaches and mentors these days that are trying to help young people to navigate their life and then become the best versions of themselves. So you need to look in your environment and look for someone that you can trust and you can confide in. So I think that's where to start from, because you're not expected to know it all. You're meant to ask for help. You're meant to seek for knowledge and you're meant to seek for wisdom. So and it is in the multitude of counsel that there is wisdom. So it's the kind of people that you roll out with. So you have to look for someone, a more matured mind, older than you. I'm not talking about your peer group. That kind of a teenager or young person, they're not going to be looking for your peer group, because they're not going to tell you, they will only tell you the things you like to hear. So you have to look for someone that is a little bit older than you are, that is trusted, and that you feel is seasoned in that field, and that can listen to you, and that can prefer solutions to whatever circumstances that you're going through.
Thank you, Auntie Dazzy. It's been a wonderful time on the show with you, and thank you for all the knowledgeable thoughts from you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on the show today. I'm sure you've gotten a thing or two from today's show, and thank you to all our viewers who thought it wise to call in on the show to be part of today's discussion. Thank you from Lagos, I can't remember your name, and from, I think she said Ekiti or where. Yes, thank you for being a part of today's show, and until next time, my name remains Victoria Agbiduko.
Well, at this point, this is where we draw the curtain for today's episode on the Engendered show on KAFTAN television. And until we come your way next time. But before I go, just like our guest has rightly said, you are responsible for what you choose to become or to make out of your life, especially as a teenager. The girl child, precisely, because of course this is the girl child show. I would say, let's leave it here. Keep watching KAFTAN television. I am Missy Emelite. Bye for now.
Bye.